Hi, everyone. It's Heidi back with another episode of Costumeco. And today we're live and I have an awesome panel with me. Been away for a little bit for about, a month or so because of work duties. I've had to take care of a few things there, but I'm really happy and excited to be back with you today. So I'm going to introduce my lovely panel that we have here today. For the first time, I'm having two fellas from a channel called the Polterguys. I don't know if it's the Polterguys 666 or just the Polterguys.
Yeah, it's just the Polterguys. That's our nickname on Instagram, but we're just the Polterguys on YouTube.
But anyways, we met together. We were in a couple of groups together through YouTube, and I had the great opportunity to meet you. And I was super impressed by your channel and what you guys have achieved so far. So, Ian and Michael, welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I also have Tanya here, who's been on the channel before. Always love having her here and hearing her perspective on things. Some of you might know her with me that we did some episodes together on Lovecraft Country on our Creatives Guild channel. And so thank you so much, Tanya, for being here today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let's just go around the table and everyone can sort of tell us a bit about themselves. So Ian, let's start with you. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Ian, and like you said at the start of the show, we have a channel called the Polterguys. I'm one part of the dastardly duo of the Polterguys, and we review horror films and talk about horror TV shows and horror content and stuff like that. And I am super excited to be part of the show tonight. So Heidi, thank you very much for inviting me on.
Well, it's my pleasure as well. And I just want to tell everyone that you guys are calling in from Ireland. So we're very happy to have you from Ireland. Tanya's in the States and I'm in Canada. So we're representing, from around the world. So next we have Michael. Michael, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Michael, the other half of the Polterguys. And as Ian said, we review horror content here on YouTube. We started the channel a while back because everyone says that modern horror is rubbish. And I would have agreed to that statement before. But over the last maybe almost a year now, we have gone on a little adventure to find horror hidden gems on streaming platforms and beyond to prove the fact that there are some fantastic modern horror out there. So we're very happy to be on the show here tonight, and we're really looking forward to talking about zombies because we're big horror fans.
Absolutely. I have to say, before Tanya, I'm going to get to you. Then I have one question I'm going to ask before we get going. So Tanya, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I'm Tanya from 1,000 Eyes in One podcast. We're actually new to YouTube. We just started on YouTube. We've been podcasting about Game of Thrones, the show, and doing book to show comparisons for a couple of years. And we decided to branch out into other speculative fiction, which of course includes horror. And so we just started our YouTube channel, 1,000 Eyes in One podcast, and we did some zombie content 2 weeks ago. So I have zombies fresh on the brain.
Tanya, I didn't know about your YouTube channel, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I have everyone's links in the description below, so I will add Tanya's YouTube channel. I'll add that link after we're done the stream here, okay?
Okay.
I just also want to say hello to a few people. We've got Adrian's from Farmstead Smiths here. Hello. Alicia's here. Alicia, I wanted to check in with you if you got your mug finally from me that I was supposed to owe you like 6 months ago. And we got Conan O'Connor, who has a ghost as an icon. Do you guys know Conan?
Yeah, we know Conan. Conan's actually one of our wee moderators for our channel. So fair play to Conan for jumping on the night and giving us some support.
That's awesome. We've got Cindy C. She said she made it. She's in Reno, Nevada, and we have Serenity Journey. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us so far. Okay, so what was the question I was going to ask you? I forgot. Oh, I know the first thing, actually, Ian, before we move on, you guys also teach at a university, don't you?
Yeah, we teach at a college. Yeah, we do, yeah. In the UK here in Ireland, we kind of go from secondary school or high school into college and then into university. So we're college lecturers, yeah, and we teach film studies and media. So we're quite hip with the young people these days in terms of film and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're fortunate enough to be also working on YouTube and doing something that we're passionate about too, as well as working on that sort of area as well. So yeah, we're both teachers. We're both happy enough.
Now, question: do your students know that you have a YouTube channel?
Just one, and that's Conan. He's the only one who knows that we have the channel.
Yeah, so you've kept that sort of a little bit tight-lipped for the moment. Okay, it might get out eventually. Just,
Maybe.
I'm gonna have to warn you, I get mobbed in the school. Okay, so to start off, just to, okay, so everyone's watched the movie, obviously. Hopefully, if you guys are in the chat, we will probably have some spoilers. So I hope you have seen it, Army of the Dead. It's on Netflix right now, which is great, right? That was really awesome. I think it was in the theater for a week, and then it immediately went to Netflix with COVID-19. We've had lots of sort of huge changes going on and how we are able to, absorb our content. So let's just go around the panel and everyone tell me what your first thoughts of the movie are. Tanya, why don't I start with you?
My first thoughts, I loved it at my first watch. I actually don't watch a lot of horror because I scare so easily. I'm probably like the perfect horror watcher because I'm the person who will actually scream out loud in the theater. And so I liked that it was a different kind of zombie story. I feel like it's often like a story where the whole story is zombies, like we have to hide, and you kind of get tired of that after a while. So I like the twist of it being a heist with zombies. So I was really into it.
Agreed. Yeah. What about you, Michael?
I actually loved the film, to be honest. I wasn't really sure what I would think of it based on the cover art. Ian and I reminisce a lot about the old video store days, trying not to show our age. And you eat with your eyes before you bite on the juicy burger. You kind of anticipate how it's going to taste based on how it looks. And with the cover art of this movie, I wasn't so sure because it was kind of coded as an action film or a zombie action film or something. I didn't even know it was going to be about zombies, really, based on the cover art. But I have to say, I absolutely loved it. It was such a sit back on the couch with a big bag of chips or a box of popcorn and sit back and relax and enjoy and escape from reality for a while. Things that are really important to me with movies are good characters, a captivating story. We're a horror channel, so of course, horror, fear of the unknown, or suspense. Emotion as well, being really attached to your characters, good character development, and a killer ending is something that ticks all the boxes for me. And this movie had all of those, so I really enjoyed it.
Great. What about you, Ian? We'll give you a little chance to tell us your first impressions.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the film as well. Kind of was going on kind of blind, didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, Dave Bautista's the lead character. He's WWE wrestler, and I kind of didn't know what I was going to expect when I watched it. But yeah, I totally agree with the rest of the panel. I thought it was fantastic. It blew my mind. It kind of took me a direction I didn't think I was going to go with the film. And just like reinforce what Michael said there, it's definitely a popcorn flick, and it's a really good film, and would highly recommend people to go and watch it. It's a good wee escape for a couple of hours, 100%.
Yeah. Now, just a question: did all of you have a chance to see Zack Snyder's other zombie movie, like earlier, or did you go back and watch that after? His one that he did about 10 years ago.
It was the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Dawn of the Dead, the remake. Yeah. Did you get to see that one?
I saw that one.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because I watched it at the time. I didn't know it was Zack Snyder, but I watched it. And the reason why I watched it is because it starred Sarah Polley, who's Canadian. In fact, I think it was shot in Canada. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was one of those movies that pretty much nobody saw, but I actually really enjoyed it. And they set it in a mall. And that was my first experience with the zombie baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously Zack Snyder has a thing about zombie babies. So Tanya, I would recommend going back and watching it. Maybe after you have the baby, though. Do it after. I don't want you to be having any nightmares about zombie babies.
Zombie babies.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Just to follow up with you there, Heidi. So you mentioned the Dawn of the Dead remake, and it wasn't the first zombie movie that broke the conventions of the stereotypical zombie where they're moaning and droning and slowly pacing looking for their next live meal. I think it was 2004 when the Dawn of the Dead. Ian will correct me on that, but there was 28 days later, and it was quickly followed by Dawn of the Dead, and that seen the emergence of the new zombie, the fast zombie, the one that will chase you, the one that will stop at nothing, and we've seen that in this film. So it's obviously something Zack Snyder's very he obviously enjoys this version of a zombie. We've seen it in this film as well. He tried to recreate zombies yet again, giving them like a new layer, the alpha, which we're going to get to now shortly. So I just think it's interesting. He took that concept and he's built on it again here 10, 20 years later, whatever it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually, 28 Days Later was one of my favorite zombie movies.
I couldn't watch it twice. I watched.
Oh, was that horrifying for you, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's one. I don't want to give anything away if anybody has seen it, but there's some really disturbing scenes in that. Kind of like for me, it's like The Road was extremely disturbing. I was completely flattened after that. So there's some scenes in 28 Days Later that are so upsetting. So I totally understand what Tanya's saying. I just want to say a few hellos. Got a few more people coming in here. We got Elamar here. Hi, Elamar. So nice to see you. Serenity Journey. I don't think I said hi to you. No, maybe I did. Alicia got her package from me. And Alicia, I put something Canadian in there for you. So when you do your unboxing, you'll see that. There's a little bit of Canada in there for you. 1,000 Eyes in One podcast is here, Tanya. So that must be your partner. Is that Nikki?
Yeah, she's actually on the road
okay.
to Massachusetts, so she may have just popped in.
The infamous Kiki is here, and now the infamous Kiki, I think she said, or he said, sorry, that they didn't enjoy the movie. Was that the infamous Kiki? That's totally cool. Everyone has different tastes, right? I have one friend who cannot ever watch a zombie movie because he's horrified with zombies. And actually, this week, someone asked me if I would review Hannibal. I have an issue with cannibalism. I cannot watch things with cannibalism. So I said, I appreciate that it's an amazing design, but I don't know. So everyone has their thing, right? Okay, so let's get to the meat of things here, folks. So we're going to start off.
For me, it's demons.
What's that? You hate demons?
I said for me, it's like demons and like demons, possessions.
Yeah.
Like those, they give me nightmares.
Antichrist, like that type of thing. Oh my gosh.
Like what like faces are in the walls and things like that.
Sure.
The imagery stays with me too long. And then I dream about it.
What about you, Ian and Michael? Is there anything that's off the table for either of you? I should ask you both as well.
Yeah, I'll jump on first there. I grew up in a very kind of religious household. So anything with demonic entities sometimes will scare me. The Exorcist to me is the scariest film ever made. I still haven't watched it as an adult. I've seen it as a child when I shouldn't have, and it scared me for life. But my grandmother was very religious, so she kind of had that beat on this about heaven and hell and all that kind of stuff. So it's religious things still kind of give me the heebie-jeebies from now and then.
Yeah, Ian, what about you? Is there anything off the table for you?
There's nothing off the table, but there's plenty that makes me squirm and makes me kind of regret watching the film. I have a real issue with like eye trauma. So then, as the amount of films we reviewed that people are getting their eyes plucked out, or their eyes are being eaten out, or there's things going through their eyes, that's a real issue for me. But that's probably the only thing. But nothing too bad that would make me not want to watch a film. But from the horror genre anyway, there's plenty of other stuff outside of horror I'm not too keen on watching. But that being said, anything to do with like eye trauma, like films like Hostel where they're cutting people up and they're burning their faces and stuff, things like that kind of really upset me, but it doesn't stop me watching it.
Awesome. Okay, so all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start, actually this is a really awesome structure that Michael and Ian have given me. So we're going to start off with the narrative, the storytelling of this. Now, this is a long movie. I think that's one of the things I saw some of the reviewers talk about. Did you find that it felt long? Tanya, what about you?
I looked at how long it was first, and there were parts where it did start to feel long, but I was surprised. Usually I feel like horror movies aren't 2.5 hours.
So it kind of, it actually it went well, like, kind of sped along nicely for you, the pacing?
Yeah, I think the pacing was good.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
I actually watched it in two parts. This is like a thing I've started doing. Maybe it's old age. I'm not sure. But I've started watching movies in two parts ever since The Irishman came out. Remember a few years ago?
It's a great movie.
Yeah. But it was like 4 hours long, and it was the
Yeah.
first time I was like, I can't do this. And I tried to treat it as if it was a 4-part series, and it really helped. And I remember people were like trashing it and had such negative reviews, and it was all down to the length, and people came away exhausted. Whereas I didn't. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I've started doing that ever since. If I see something that's over the 2-hour mark, I'll either have a break and I'll go away and I'll make a nice cup of tea and stuff and come back refreshed, or I'll watch half one day and half the next day. And I never feel that fatigue with movies anymore. I think, especially when you review movies and you're very critical of movies, it can be exhausting because we read them and we're trying to read meaning into every scene and every shot. And I get motion sickness sometimes as well, just from watching movies, because I don't know, I think I'm so intensely watching it. So for me, it wasn't an issue, to be honest. I've heard people say that about the length. It's 2.5 hours long, I think. And I didn't notice it. I think the first half flew by and the second half flew by even faster.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, I had like Zack Snyder, whose other film, The Justice League. I did the exact same thing. I broke it into 2 sections and watched it. It was extremely enjoyable to watch it that way. But I like your idea about how you treated it kind of like a mini series. You did. What about you, Ian?
For me personally, I could have went another 2 hours. I got really could have.
Well, there's going to be a prequel. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I could have went another 2 hours. Really enjoyed it, but it was like one of those. It was so immersive because the storytelling was so good. And again, from what we talked about at the top of the show about what did we expect when we seen it at the start, I kind of thought this was just going to be blood and guts and gore, and army people are going to go and tear the place up, and that's that. But it was so like the story was so in depth. There were so many characters and layers to all the characters, and kind of by the time you got to the end of the film, I was kind of like, I want more. I know I've already had 2.5 hours. It's selfish, but I would love some more, especially if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but at the end when certain characters on the plane and stuff, and it's like
I screamed.
It's like it gets juicy again. It's like you've had your excitement and you're kind of on this kind of even plane for a little while. Then next thing it's getting juicy again. Then the film ends. So for me, I could have went another couple of hours.
I did love the ending. I think part of why it didn't feel too long was because they kind of got the zombie plague spread out of the way. We didn't dwell on it.
They did,
and
like
I loved the montage. Yes.
Yeah.
With the music.
Which is amazing, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, I love the montage. I love that they, had the perfect music for it, very Vegas. And you see all the Vegas imagery and everything. And you're kind of just, because, so many movies dwell on the spread of the plague. And we've done it before. We've done it so many times. So I was really happy that with the way they got it out of the way. Like, okay, the zombies are, well, obviously we had the opening sequence, which of course explained certain things, but just that general spread of the plague, this is how Vegas went over, get it done while during the opening credits. I thought that was really great.
But before we move on, I just want to say hi to Tish from the Artist Haven. She's one of my YouTube friends, and also Adrian as well. And we also have OTDA. Hello, welcome to all the newbies. So what about you, Michael? Talking about, I know we were talking about the length and getting into the narrative. What do you think?
So as I said, I watched it kind of in 2 parts, and just to follow up there with what Tanya was saying, like, I just think that was so ingenious, that opening credits. It set the scene, it set the rules of play with the zombies. It introduced us to our main characters. We learned that there was loss and anguish and pain. We learned that these people have been kind of segregated from the rest of society. We learned so much in those opening kind of moments. I thought it was fantastic. It's probably one of the best opening credits scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think a lot of all the critics reviews I saw, everyone said that, like, it was just such a solid. And you can kind of tell Zack Snyder has a background being a music director, like a video director for musicians. That's how he got his start. Ian, did I ask you? I think I asked Michael again. Did I get to you?
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a while since I've live streamed, so
That's fine. Michael can take control. He's all right.
I've been on a break,
I just
so
gotta
guys,
go.
I'm a
I'm
little
just gonna
rusty here. Okay, Ian, if I didn't give you a chance, go ahead.
No, it's I totally agree with everything Michael said. 100%. You know, the intro was absolutely fantastic. It was like a music video, 100%. Kind of reminded me a bit on. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with a director called Chris Cunningham. He makes music videos. He worked with Apex Twin and Bjork and things like that. And I kind of had a feeling of that. So yeah, you're totally right. It had the Zack Snyder appeal about the intro, and just sort of reinforcing what Tanya said there. Didn't dwell too much on the cause of the outbreak. The outbreaks happened. Let's get straight into the meat of the film. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit about the storytelling. So who wants to start? Who wants to jump in about the narrative? This isn't my forte, so I'm going to acquiesce to the three of you about this.
Go ahead, Michael. You're good. You're the storyteller. You're good at telling
pushing
stories.
on to me. So, if everyone who's watching, I hope everyone has seen the film, and I'm sorry if I stumble and give away spoilers. But essentially, the film is about this. There's soldiers leaving, I presume, which is Area 51, and they're carrying very valuable cargo. And inevitably, they end up having a massive crash, and the cargo breaks free. And it turns out that it is like this super zombie kind of super soldier kind of thing. And he slaughters the army and he bites them. And what happens when a zombie bites someone? They turn into zombies. And thus, the city of Las Vegas is overthrown with zombies. After that, we get the rules of play. There are mercenaries who are just ordinary people, I guess, who've been going around saving people. Las Vegas is being, I guess, what's the word? It's being cut off from society. It's being, what's that word? Quarantined. We're in it. We should know. Las Vegas is being quarantined, and there's all these kind of mercenaries who've been saving people. It's coming up to the 4th of July. And the government have decided that we are going to demolish Las Vegas. We're just going to blow it up with a nuclear explosive. Get out while you can. You'll be bussed out of there. And if you're not bussed out, tough luck. We're going to get rid of everything that's there. We're going to get rid of all the zombies. This won't be a problem anymore. So it's coming down to the kind of doomsday. And there's a billionaire who owns a casino, quite an eccentric kind of guy. And he comes and finds the mercenaries to send them on this kind of very dangerous heist to leave the quarantine zone, go out into the wilderness of Las Vegas in order to go to his casino, to go down to the basement, down to his secret, super protective vault where he's got $200 million maybe in cash. Mm-hmm. And he wants them to collect the money. And this was where the adventure ensues. I hope that's a fair assessment of what it's kind of about.
You're muted.
That's excellent. Sorry, I was going to say also it's like the actor Sonata. I can't remember. He's from Westworld. He's an excellent actor who plays the billionaire.
Yeah, he was in the
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he was in Mortal Kombat recently as Scorpion, but he was also in the original Japanese version of The Ring. That's where
I didn't know that. Like I knew him from The Last Samurai. I think that was the with Tom Cruise. That's what I. But I didn't know he was in the Japanese Ringu.
Yeah, Ringu. Yeah, he's like a clairvoyant in it. But he's one of these actors that pops up everywhere, and he's brilliant. I would love to see more of him.
I'd love to see more of him. What about you, Tanya? Regarding the storytelling, the narrative, and all that, what do you think?
I
solo here.
Found it really hilarious that it was a couple of horny Americans who kicked off the zombie apocalypse, because I do feel like this is where it's gonna start. Yeah, but it was just so, yeah. I was like, of course it's like a couple of horny Americans and they kick off an entire zombie apocalypse, like of course. And now another American is about to go and we'll talk about the ending, I suppose. But the storytelling I thought was really great. I like that again that we got sort of people's backstories through the opening scene, so that we didn't have to spend too much time, learning who everyone is through like weird exposition or something. There were things that annoyed me a little. I can't remember character names, but Dave Bautista's character, his fighting with his daughter, I wanted to choke both of them so much throughout it. Like, it annoyed me not in the sense that I thought it was bad writing, but that they were annoying people. And it's like, guys, we are going into a zombie hellhole. Can you please pull it together? But yeah, overall, I thought it was really good storytelling because I was able to stay focused the whole time and sit through all of it. And yeah, I had a really good time with it. Thought that was a lot of
one
fun.
thing I didn't ask you guys, would you have preferred to have seen it on the big screen? Was it a little bit disappointing having to watch it on a smaller screen?
I don't think so.
Didn't take away from it for you?
No, not for me
Ian and
either.
Michael?
No, for me it was 100%. I'm glad it was on Netflix, to be honest with you. It's like Michael said at the top of the show. We talk a lot about seeing the artwork, the visual, advertising, marketing and stuff. And for me, just by the movie poster alone and the eating with our eyes, as Michael said, it probably wouldn't have been a film I would have went to see in the cinema. But because I have Netflix, and there's a lot of hype around it, it's not that it didn't cost me anything. It cost me a Netflix subscription to watch it, but it was a good film, and watching it on Netflix didn't affect me whatsoever. I thought it was really good. So what I actually have a habit of doing is actually watching the films on an iPad with my headphones, because you get more immersed. It's more of an immersive experience, and you do hear a lot more through your headphones than you would do on the television.
Yeah, I've heard that. And I've also heard some people I know watch movies on Netflix with subtitles. They find they get a little bit more, a lot of the creators do, they get a lot more information from that. It sometimes gives you additional information. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective. So next we're going to move on. And of course, this is really important to Justin. My friend Justin would talk about this as characters. How important are the characters? And some amazing characters in this, guys, right? So Tanya, why don't you tell us what you thought about the characters? I've got some pictures of them.
I loved Dieter and his screaming, because I felt like I related to him.
Indeed. I have a picture of him. Here, I'll just put it up. I mentioned to the guys, I think, Tanya, before you joined, that Dieter's my favorite character. I loved him.
I absolutely loved him. Like, every time he screamed, I screamed too. And I don't do a lot of horror content because I really do scare so easily. And like, it was like, even after watching the movie, like at night when I kept hearing the ice maker go off and like jumping out of my bed to like run, because it just like completely stays with me. So Dieter was really funny. He comes in, he doesn't know how to use a gun, he doesn't know how to fight zombies, and
but at the same time, why would he? Like he
right? There's no reason for him to. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have Guzman, who treats zombie killing like a fun hobby on the side with his videos, and then of course you see him actually in action and how hard it is for him to really get into it when things are real. And one of my favorite, like, very minor characters, the guy that Guzman brought with him, when he found out what the task was and completely was like, I'm not doing this. And Guzman's like, yeah, but you said this and that. And he was like, I was bullshitting. I love that. I thought that was so funny, because to me, it was an extremely realistic and understandable reaction to finding out what this task is. I also love Tig Notaro's character, the helicopter flyer. I don't recall. Oh yeah,
I've got a picture of her. I'll find it while you're talking. She was a replacement, right?
Yes.
So that was kind of interesting, because I didn't know that going into seeing this movie. Did you guys know that? Here she is here.
I had heard about it and forgotten about it until I watched the behind the scenes. But I did remember that the guy the guy she replaced, I think he had some like sexual misconduct stuff going on. Yeah. And so I remember when that happened and he got pulled from it, but I didn't remember the movie. So I'd kind of forgotten about it until I watched the behind the scenes.
Yeah, because she said she never actually got to work with Dave Bautista. Like it was all Christopher, what do you call it? That actor's name who got to replace Kevin Spacey. They kind of Christopher plumbered her into the movie. Is that a verb?
It is now.
I've made up a new verb.
She was a really good choice, though, I thought.
I thought so too. I love her. Now, I haven't seen, she's apparently in Star Trek, which I haven't seen, but apparently she's.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. So really great, strong female character. It was really fun. I love how they did that too. They recast it with a female when they could have recast it with a male, but they went a different way. And I thought that was kind of neat. Okay. So what about you, Michael? Let's talk about character, what you think.
Yeah, I thought the film had a really interesting cast of characters who kind of varied. There was a lot of humor in there as well, which I really appreciated because I didn't expect it. Just to talk about some of the action heroes, so Batista and the guy Hardwick. I think he's
Omari.
Omari, yeah.
Hardwick.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Just to highlight those two. Again, I talked about the kind of coding of how they look. Their muscles, their bulging muscles signify, their potential for action. They're masculine. They're heroes, and it comes in the display of their bodies, just their masculinity. But I actually thought it was interesting, and they tried this especially with Batista's character, Scott, I think he was called. They try to give him this kind of a softer male side as well. So while he was coded masculine with the guns and with the muscles and scenes of effortless violence, killing millions of zombies without breaking a sweat, there was pain and torment with him as well. We've seen that he had to, and it's the kind of opening scenes, I think, where he had to kind of put his wife down, so to speak, because she had been infected, and it led to like a discombobulated relationship with his daughter. And I found that was interesting. Again, if this was a series or if it was longer, I would love to see where this character goes and where this pain takes him, and maybe this is the catalyst that makes him so angry and aggressive. I also thought it was interesting. I don't know if it was interesting, or I don't know if it was a foresight kind of thing, that if he is so angry and he has all this heartache and he has nightmares every night, he's also kind of very funny. He was very positive and uplifting, and he carried all the other characters on his back. He encouraged them all. He was the leader. I just thought Batista, I know him. I'm a huge wrestling fan as well, so I've kind of known Batista through his wrestling career and watch him kind of grow as an actor. And we've all seen him in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's very, again, he's strong and silent, and he doesn't say much, and he comes out with the odd kind of quip or the odd funny remark. He kind of did it here again, but I really like him as an actor, and there's something very endearing about him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I had a fandom for him in a previous life, or I don't know if he's just super charming. But Batista, just to single him out, I just thought his character was really interesting, and I was very surprised to see that come from him, to be honest.
It's really nice to see him in a leading role. I mean, really, he's the hero. It was funny because the girl who plays the helicopter pilot, she said she thought she was the main character. I read in an interview. I thought that was hilarious. So no, but I mean, Dave Bautista, Scott, he's the he's the hero in the story, obviously, right? It's a hero's journey, I guess, even though it's in a horror story. And I've always loved him too. I'm not a wrestling fan, but anything he's ever been in, I loved him in Blade Runner. Even though I didn't ask for that sequel, I did love him in that. I thought he was amazing. And I thought he did an amazing job in this role. So what about you, Ian? What do you think?
Yeah,
it is not just about Dave, but anybody.
No, that's 100%. Listen, the characters all had so many different layers and so much depth. But for me personally, my favorite character was Chambers, because she was a carbon copy of Vasquez from Aliens. If you've ever seen the Aliens film, when the Marines go onto the planet of where the aliens live, and they go into this big I can't even describe what it is, but it looks like a big mining community, and they go in and they kill all the aliens. So Chambers looked like Vasquez, and she had the same kind of personality, and she was badass, and she was a strong woman, and she didn't need the help of the guys. And I just thought her
sorry, is this Chambers? You'll have to remind me.
That's her. Yep, that's Chambers.
Okay.
There. So if you've ever seen the Aliens film, she's almost like a carbon copy of one of the Marines that was in that film. And straight away when I seen it, oh, aliens, that's fast quest for aliens, but obviously it's not. But yeah, I thought her character was really, really good. Probably a bit of an unsung hero, to be honest with you, because it's Dave Bautista is the star and attraction of this, and the guy from Power and all was in it as well. So it's a big leading man film. It's a bit like a throwback to our Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sly Stallone and Bruce Willis all getting together to make an action-packed film. But I think that for me, the character of Chambers stole the show for me, because she went down fighting to the very end, didn't she? She wasn't being.
Yeah,
she was hard to kill.
She was extremely hard to kill.
When she comes flying out of that glass window, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like you keep thinking she's. There were a few jokes on social media and about how like no one kind of came in to help her. They're just all standing there watching.
Well, that's what drove me crazy with Guzman. Yeah, because he had so many chances to shoot. And it's like he couldn't do it, and it showed that all the bravado he was showing on his YouTube videos shooting just the regular shamblers, like that all went out the window. He completely shit the bed once he saw the alpha is coming. Which, I mean, again, I understand it. A zombie that's ducking and dodging and fighting back, like you're not prepared for that, and nobody knew about those. None of them knew about those except for the coyote.
Yeah.
I just want to say hi to Stephanie Frederick. Hi, Stephanie. The coyote. Oh, now one of the things I loved. Is that the coyote?
Yeah, Lily.
I loved. Okay, now I'm not a video game person, but when I first saw her, I was like, oh my god, she looks like if you were to design a video game character, would that not be her? She looks just like a video game character. So what did you guys all think of her? And I love this guy to her right here, by the way. I thought he was a great villain, like semi-villain.
I was suspicious of him from the very beginning. And I also thought that the coyote would sacrifice herself at some point. I just kind of got that feeling from her, especially when she found out that Gita was a mother and was, I wouldn't have sent her in. So that to me kind of signaled like, okay, she's going to have some kind of guilt or something and maybe sacrifice herself. But yeah, I was suspicious of him from the beginning. I think he's a really funny guy. His reaction to the tiger was hilarious. And again, one I relate to, like a zombie tiger. Are you kidding me? Like, this is too much.
Yeah, I made a joke that I'm like, I wonder if that's like Siegfried and Roy's tiger. Like I made a joke about that to my husband. He was sitting next to me and I was like, okay, why would there be a tiger? But then, why not? Okay. What did you guys think of the tiger? Which if you watch the behind the scenes, it's very cool how they created that.
I found him.
I don't have a picture of it though. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, it was good to see. Whenever I seen the trailers and the sneak peeks kind of before the film was released, and they had that classic line, about the tiger, that's not fair or whatever it is he says. But I thought it was good. That's good. I think again, it's like it kind of takes that zombie element to another level. We're now seeing animals and things like that, and being turned into zombies, and the tiger kind of gets his day in the film. That's one of the points, and he mauls one of the characters. I'll not say who it is, just in case you haven't seen it, but it's quite a gruesome death. And that was probably
very gruesome.
That was probably one of the most horrific scenes in the film. It wasn't. They didn't hold back on that scene, but yeah, it was good to see. It was good. Listen, they mixed it up. They brought tigers, and it was very Las Vegas. They tried to keep it. They kept it within the pageantry of Las Vegas with Siegfried and Roy's tiger, and everybody looked some kind of extra from a show or whatever it was. But yeah, I thought it was a welcome addition. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm actually these are some screen grabs I have from the behind the scenes video. I was going to say, I think I have a feeling some of these people might actually work in Vegas. They didn't shoot it in Vegas, but these look like, showgirls you would see in Vegas, obviously. Yeah. I was saying I love this picture, but I've seen this type of character before. It's a person who is painted to look like a statue, and then suddenly they come to life, that kind of thing. So yeah, they have all the tropes. Of course, you have to have Elvis. Of course. You have to have Elvis. That was my favorite. That was all from the opening montage as all hell is breaking loose kind of thing in Vegas, right? Okay, so now the next thing we're going to go on to, we can always go back to character if you guys want, is we can talk about the horror aspect of it. Now, Tanya, why don't we go to you, because you say you're not normally a horror fan, but what did you think about some of the graphic nature of the story of the show?
I liked it. It wasn't too scary. I feel like, so again, I'm a sensitive viewer. I get nightmares, and so things with like really, really like demonic imagery or really graphic imagery a lot of times really stays with me. And so there were things that I kind of closed my eyes for, like the tiger mauling scene. I watched most of it, but I looked away a lot. And the opening with the soldier getting his jaw torn off was completely horrific for me. So I looked away for a lot of that too. But overall, I found it scary, but not like cheap scary. Like it wasn't too many like jump scares or, do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining it well.
Kind of felt like a little bit like it's. Oh, sorry. I kind of felt like it was a little bit campy at some points. Like I don't know if you, Ian and Michael, if you felt that there was a lot of tongue in cheek, even though there was some graphic horror. Whereas something like The Walking Dead is like dead serious. Like it feels dead serious. This doesn't. It had a little bit of humor, a little bit of tongue in cheek,
and it makes it a little bit easier for me to watch because it's not too scary.
Yeah. So Michael and Ian, the two of you have a channel called the Polterguys where you analyze horror movies. What are your thoughts on the horror? Michael, we can go to you.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about the zombies first, shall we? They're a main kind of attraction of this film. Again, we talked about before, you normally get these slow pacing, methodical zombies. We've kind of become conditioned to see these kind of fast-paced zombies, but now we've got these kind of superior, like a new species of zombies, like a superior to a human. I think they said in that making of, they're as fast as a cheetah and they're as strong as an ox, if that's a saying. Maybe I've made that one up. But in terms of like how the zombies and stuff looked, I think the prosthetics were fantastic. I love seeing real life human beings rather than CGI. There didn't seem to be a lot of CGI in this, maybe some blood and stuff, but I love seeing real human beings interacted with other human beings in scenes. So I thought the prosthetics and stuff were brilliant. There's a beheading scene in this, and they also used like animatronics and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. But there's more to, it's not just what you see on screen as in actors, as in human beings that create the horror. There's lots of elements to your film. There is sound design, there is color grading, there is cinematography, and I think that they were all very impactful as well. I think the music was very unsettling. It was quite unusual to have this kind of upbeat and quirky and funny music in a zombie movie. There's that scene where you're looking at now, that where they're in the lift, and I think it's who is it? Culture Club or something is playing in the lift, and it's
Oh, that's hilarious. I forgot about that. Yeah, they use pop music quite a bit throughout the
which makes sense. They're in a Vegas elevator, so of course you're hearing that. Yeah.
And usually we would expect, dreadful shrieking violins and stuff to create the suspense, but this contrast in music, it made it so weird. It made it like surreal almost. I thought that was quite impactful, but yes, it was quirky. But all in all, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in this film. There's a lot of action. If you haven't seen this, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of guns, a lot of blood splattering, but there's some really cool visual effects that artists put a lot of time and work and hours into creating each and every day on set. And I really appreciate it. I appreciated seeing hordes of zombies huddling around an empty swimming pool full of bones and blood. I love scenes like that. So there's a lot to appreciate. It was a feast for the eyes. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was very scary, I will say that, but there was one or two scenes I kind of went, that kind of way. But I got a couple of those moments, but I didn't get any frights. I don't think there's really any jump scares or anything per se. Ian might argue with me. He loves jump
Yeah,
scares.
I don't know. There were, I mean, Tanya said there wasn't, I didn't feel, there were a few. Oh my God. Like, like the tiger. I have to say, I love that though. I'm the type of person I'll be like, oh yeah, that's real. Like I'm like that with horror movies. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. I wouldn't class this film as a horror film. I think you nailed, I think you nailed it in your descriptor, Heidi, of what this film is. It's a zombie heist film. I wouldn't put, if I had an old Blockbuster video or a video store, I wouldn't put this film in the horror category.
Oh, interesting.
But that being said, give me good old-fashioned special effects. Give me makeup, give me prosthetics, give me animatronics, give me, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, where there's blood all over the set and they're almost half killing each other with electrical stuff just to try and get the scene right. If you have never seen the making of Nightmare on Elm Street, you should go and watch that. The lengths that the creators and the special effects guys go to make some of those scenes is unbelievable. And I just feel with this film we kind of get a homage to that. There's not a lot of CGI. Obviously when Maria gets her neck broke, that wasn't a jump scare, but that was a shock. Whenever
it was very shocking.
Yeah, when that zombie came out of the elevator and twisted Maria's neck, that was like a whoa, oh my God moment. But in terms of like the horror, there are some gruesome scenes. There definitely is. But you said it earlier on, Heidi, like you do get more horror and more drama and more kind of upsetting scenes in The Walking Dead, especially like the later series that we had with the Whispers and things like that. But yeah, the scene of the tiger mauling was disgusting. It was brilliant. It was good to see. Maria getting her neck broken was good, but I liked like all the guys doing parkour and stuff through the casinos.
Yeah, amazing. Those are all special. Those are all special parkour, like, which is really cool. Like you said, they could have done it CGI, but they had these practical, skilled individuals doing it.
It was so impressive. But I don't know if anybody else thought of The Office with Andy and Michael and Dwight doing parkour in The Office. Have you seen that episode? That's kind of what I was thinking about when I seen it.
So funny.
It was like it was really good. It was good to see it all being physically done as opposed to jump in front of her. I know there is green screen, I get that, but sometimes it's just too easy just to throw special effects at things. We recently reviewed The Conjuring and a film called The Unholy, and both of them kind of heavily relied on special effects almost too much. It kind of takes away from the storytelling. But this movie was, in terms of horror, no, it's not a horror film, but some of the scenes that were horrific were really, really good and really believable. And like I said before, good old fashioned, makeup and smoke and mirrors, and that's what I love about horror films.
Yeah, honestly, like Zack Snyder, he's a true artist. He does everything. Like they were, I loved in the behind the scenes where you see him. He gets in there. He was doing a lot of the photography himself. He was storyboarding. Like he's extremely talented. He reminds me a bit like a Ridley Scott, who is just a full-on artist and loves it so much. You can just feel his energy. He's so intoxicating. I just want to say hi to 30 Days, who you're never too late. I'm glad you're here. And Paul Peck Drywall. They're a couple of my friends from the YouTube community. So again, thanks guys for coming. And the Polterguys, you'll probably get to know these people as well, because it's a really warm, wonderful community. And 30 Days, if you didn't know, I met the Polterguys because Daniel and Dee actually reviewed your channel, I think, right? Was that what happened?
That's right. Yeah, we got a good review, and we have taken a lot of their advice on board. So if you ever do get an opportunity to get your channel reviewed by Dee or Dan, do listen to them. It works. They're awesome. And sometimes Daniel will pop into my live streams. And Dee, actually, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but I did a video with Dee Nimmin last year on the 4th. What is it? May the 4th be with you. The two of us interviewed Roger Christian, who invented the lightsaber. He worked on the original Star Wars movie and Alien and Aliens.
So yeah, so he is an awesome guy, and so we did that. So actually, speaking of that, you would classify Aliens as a horror movie, right? Alien?
Yeah, it
Aliens?
would. And you know what else? I'm going to throw another spanner into the works here, Heidi, and everybody will probably disagree with me, but I would actually class Jurassic Park as a horror.
Yeah, actually, I could see that. It is pretty terrifying. It is. I watched it with my kids, and I kind of felt bad because it was like, this is probably not appropriate for my 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm. It is. I would the early ones especially. My oldest daughter, she's 8, and she loves Jurassic World, and it's like, she had no problem watching it. Now the first one was on television about a week ago, and she was sitting like this. When they got to the T-Rex paddock, she was like, the same sort of quote as the little girl said in the film. What's going to happen to that goat? So
I know, it's awful.
So yeah.
No, we have Tanya's going to be with us for another 10 minutes. So she has to leave at 3, but then we're going to carry on a little bit longer to talk a little bit about some of the visuals of the movie. So Tanya, why don't we start with you? We're going to talk about the emotion. So actually, well, Michael, maybe you can describe to me what you mean by that before we ask Tanya what that means.
Yeah, so something that Ian and I always look for is an emotional investment in a story or an emotional attachment to a character. We want to have empathy or sympathy for a character because we believe that makes horrific actions so much more horrific, so much more impactful. So, we sometimes we watch a horror movie and you don't really care and they're just going to get got by the witch. We're not looking for that. That doesn't make a good movie or it doesn't make an enjoyable experience. But if you're invested in a character and you want to see them succeed or you want to get behind them, then when something bad happens to them, you feel for them. So when we talk about the emotion, that's what we're looking for, like an emotional attachment to a character. So when something bad happens, that we actually care and we want to see them escape the zombies or we want them to escape the witch. So that's kind of where we're coming from when we talk about the emotion.
Yeah, just before I move on, I noticed you have the Marshmallow Man behind you, which do you have kids?
No,
Michael?
I am the kid.
You are the kid. I was going to say, if you have kids, does your child think that that's a cute, fluffy little stuffy, not a terrifying murderous ghost? Okay. Well, anyway, Tanya. So, what do you think? What was your emotion behind this then?
So, I didn't feel particularly connected to any one character, but I felt bad every time someone realized that they were bitten, and that moment of like, fuck, it's over. That it hit me in the gut like every single time. This is gonna sound a little bit evil, but I was hoping he would just leave his daughter behind because she was just getting on my nerves. And it's like so many people would have survived if he had just left her behind. But I get it, it's his daughter, and I have kids, so I get it. But like, at the same time, it's like at some point you got to just be like, you know what, you've made your decision. You've decided to stay here and die, and I'll accept that for you, because I just kept thinking like, so her. I don't know how much spoiler you want us to give, but I did a spoiler alert at the beginning. Okay,
so okay, you can go ahead.
So I've already given away that he does not leave his daughter behind, and I didn't really expect him to, but the connection with him and his daughter, it didn't elicit emotions for me in the way that I thought it would, because I kept thinking like, all right, leave her behind. And that scene where they finally make it to the helicopter and then they gaze at each other lovingly, I wanted to jump out of my skin. I was screaming at the TV like, what are you doing? Like, leave, stop gazing at each other. So a lot of the feelings I had watching this were screaming in horror and jumping out of my skin. But it wasn't particularly tied. It wasn't particularly tied to any particular character. I was really happy for Omari Hardwick's character for a moment. I actually cheered for him in the private jet scene until we get to the end of the movie, and then I was just like, oh, you fuck. Just again that moment, and
yeah, so, but don't you feel a sequel coming out of that? Like, don't you feel definitely. Like it was setting up for a sequel?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I would love to. You had mentioned the prequel. This isn't so much about the emotions, but in that scene with the parkour scene where they shoot that one zombie that's a robot, I am dying to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also the main alpha when he gets shot and you see all that blue, light coming out. Like I cared about the locksmith. Me too. I
were before 30 days before you joined, both Tanya and I were saying how much we love Dieter, who's the locksmith, and they're doing a prequel movie about him. Because as soon as I saw this guy, I said to my husband, they got to get this guy in another show. Like, this guy is, I don't know what it was. He had so much charisma.
Well, he was so out of place. Michael mentions how the guys are all like muscle bound with their sleeves torn off and carrying these huge guns. And then you have Dieter with his headphones around his neck. It's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. And we can get to this when we start talking about the costumes and stuff. But I was like, when I went back to look at those visuals of Dave Bautista's costume and some of the concept art behind him, I was like, it was like they were like, how much stuff can we put on him? How many things can we add to his body? Like, last night we were watching Goonies, and there's this little kid in the movie, and my husband says, is he padded? Like, what's going on with him? And like, every time throughout the movie, there would be something that would come out of his costume. Like, there would be a punching thing, or there would be like, I don't know, have like lights attached, or he'd have all these gadgets attached to his body. So that's what these guys were like. They were always like pulling something, and Dave had that one weapon that we were like, is that like a Walking Dead reference that looked like Lucille? It was like
the bat with the
nails on it, I think, or barbed wire. Was it nails?
It was nails, I think.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted to see more of I kind of wanted to see more of action with that saw. It's like they went through the trouble of digging it up. I would have liked to see it in action a little more.
And he's a little protective of it, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you don't touch my, but again, like, I could see that turning into a, in a follow-up movie. I don't know if he ended up on the plane with that weapon, because he kind of dug himself out. Okay. So what about you, Michael, regarding emotion?
Yeah, I'm going to flip it kind of over here. I actually felt really sorry for Zeus after his queen had been beheaded. I think it was one of the most distraught characters in the whole movie. We see he carried her dead corpse, or I guess she's not dead, her lifeless corpse, back to his lair, and you can see the anguish and pain in this character. That's he's the undead, and then spoiler alert, he pulls an unborn fetus from his queen's stomach, and then there's like a kind of like curling horrible scream that he lets out, and that's it sends all of his army kind of into a rage. But you kind of felt for that character. I mean, they didn't really do anything wrong per se. I know there's 100 million zombies, but up to this point, we haven't really seen the Queen do anything. Or is this, we haven't seen them do anything to any of the mercenaries going for the money or anything. We have no reason to really hate them at this point. So they're just, because they are the zombies. They're the de facto villains of this film. So I kind of felt sorry for Zeus, to be honest.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we don't know his origin story, but it's likely that he was made, right? He was manufactured,
yeah,
right,
by the government, or some underground.
Can I tell you my head like fanfic about how he was made?
Sure.
They were trying to recreate the super soldier serum. And it went wrong.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of MCU.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because I wondered if this might be in the DC universe, because it's Zack Snyder. It could be in the DC universe. I don't know if it would be in the MC universe. But that's very interesting. The super serum, very cool. But obviously, I mean, they were transporting him. They were in possession of him, right? What about you, Ian? What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Bautista's character, Scott, and his daughter, Kate. For me, I thought they're a bit wobbly there. Sorry. I thought their relationship, evolved into something that was quite emotional. There was a scene when they were trying to flip the power back on, and they kind of had this heart-to-heart moment up outside one of the buildings. And for me, I kind of thought, yeah, that's the connection coming back. Then there is a bit of a tear jerker at the end. Then if we're going on the spoiler territory here now, whenever Dave Bautista has been infected, she has it's the roles have now reversed. Like Michael said at the top of the show there, that Bautista had to put down his wife, Kate's mother, and then Kate then is put in the same position where she has to do the same then to Scott. So I thought that was a good piece of emotional connection, and it was heartfelt. Again, totally agree with the Zeus character. I thought Zeus got it tight. I think if we kind of look back at the origins of the film, these guys under no fault of their own have become zombies, and I think that there's a comment made by one of the characters that says that this isn't their prison, this is their kingdom. So they were happily living in the Las Vegas Strip, surrounded by all the cargo tankers and all that kind of thing. But whenever the bride gets killed and the fetus is revealed, from the womb. I thought that was another direction about the zombie film as well. You made reference earlier on, Heidi, to Dawn of the Dead when you seen the baby for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that baby pre-existed and through the zombie virus had mutated inside the womb, whereas this is now, zombies are procreating. And this wee zombie was obviously going to be the heir to the throne, and you can kind of see the emotional side where this was coming from, avenging his family. His family's been killed, and if that had been another film like The Punisher or another film where someone's family's been killed, he's going to go out and avenge their deaths, kind of thing. So I thought there was a lot of emotion in this film. Sometimes it's hard to identify it because there's so much action and so much, explosions and special effects and the tiger and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to identify it some of the time. But for me, I thought this was those parts I was talking about specifically. Did have a lot of emotion, and I think it did delve into a more compassionate side on both sides of the fence, I suppose, with the mercenaries and the zombies. But you made a good comment there about the MCU universe. The actress that played the bride zombie was actually a stunt woman, and she was in WandaVision. And if Heidi, you had a lovely picture earlier on that you showed us pre.
Oh yeah, let me find it. It's funny that you should say that, Ian. I was looking at the picture of her, and I was like, she kind of looks like Wanda.
She looks like Wanda. So she does. She was stunt double for Wanda.
You're kidding. That is so weird. Okay, let me get the picture of her here.
No, and she looks like her. She's not an actress per se. She's a stunt woman.
This one here. Oh wait, sorry, I haven't added it. This one.
No, she looks a bit like theirs. There was almost like a pre-production shot where she's kind of standing and she's looking sideways.
Yeah. This one here.
There, she looks like Wanda there.
She does. It's so funny you should say that. I thought the same thing. And she was Wanda's stunt. I wonder if they're using her wig.
It looks like they're using
that would be
Wanda.
funny if they're using Wanda's wig from the 70s or on.
So that was, I thought that was good. We segue there when you're talking about the MC universe there, Tanya. So we've got some WandaVision into the discussion.
Now I have to just let everyone know. So Tanya, who has generously come on today, she has to. She has to leave. And go. She has to do some stuff today with her husband. So I want to thank Tanya so much. Tanya, before you, we're going to be around for a bit longer, but Tanya, before we go, do you want to tell everybody where everyone can find you and so on? I have your links in the description, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we podcast as 1,000 Eyes in One podcast, where you can find us wherever you listen. We post the links on 1000eyespodcast.com. We also have started doing a book club called Wine on an Empty Stomach, and that's what we've been doing on YouTube. We only have 2 episodes so far, but our most recent book was Dread Nation, which is historical fiction with zombies. So that was a really fun read. So I highly recommend it. And because we're talking about zombie babies, if you haven't seen, this has nothing to do with me, but the movie The Girl with All the Gifts have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah, it's great. I loved it.
I love that movie, and you kind of get some
Great
zombie
film.
babies who grow up.
Great film.
Yeah, it's so good.
Love that movie. Yeah, I'm gonna hurry before my son starts screaming. So yeah, you can find us thousandeyespodcast.com, and I'm on Twitter a lot, Thousand Eyes One, and Nikki runs our Instagram, 1,000 Eyes and One, and we both post on Facebook also as 1,000 Eyes and One. So if you like Game of Thrones, if you like speculative fiction, check us out.
Tanya, I love that name, Wine in an Empty Stomach, which I don't necessarily recommend because you get a terrible hangover, but it's an awesome name.
I honestly can't remember how we came up with it, and I'm sure
so
Wine
fun.
on an Empty Stomach had to do with it.
I also want to say that Tanya now has a YouTube channel. 1,000 Eyes and One have a YouTube channel. I will be adding that, but all of her other links like Twitter, Instagram, and your website are on in the description below. So Tanya, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do this again.
Having me. Yes, definitely. Thank you for having me. I wish I could stay a little longer, but I have an impetuous 3-year-old, and
we'll have to, and also, congratulations again about
number 2.
Number 2's coming soon. So we're very excited for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, take care.
It was really great to meet you guys, Michael and Ian. I really enjoyed this.
It's a pleasure, Tanya. It was lovely to meet you as well, Tanya. Hopefully we'll cross paths very soon.
Hopefully.
Congratulations.
We'll have to.
Thank you. Take care, guys. I'll check you out in the
Tanya.
chat. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tanya. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah. So anyway, that was so fun. So anyway, we're going to just carry on for about another half hour here, just to talk a bit about the visuals and just sort of our final thoughts and all that. So if anyone's just joining us now, I have Michael and Ian from the Polterguys. They have a YouTube channel. This is our first time streaming together. It's going to be the first of many, I really hope. So we're having so much fun talking about Army of the Dead. And so we've just been, discussing the horror aspects of the show, the characters, our thoughts on the show. So let's move on. Now, for me, of course, obviously, one of the things I'm going to be looking at are the visuals. And what's so cool about this show is that there's all the departments are kind of working nicely together. You've got the production designers, you've got the editors, the sound engineers, and so on. Hey, Tony. Tony Teflon's here. I don't know if you guys know Tony. He has an awesome YouTube channel.
I've seen one of your videos, Heidi, with Tony Teflon on it, and it was amazing. He is such a great character, isn't he?
He's amazing. We love him. And he's a fabulous person in the community. And we did a lot of stuff. He was a big Lovecraft Country fan as well, which I know you guys haven't seen it. But one of the things I was going to mention, though, is that the one of the concept artists who worked on this originally also designed the Shoggoth. If you guys watch Lovecraft Country, he designed the Shoggoth, which is this character. It's kind of like an H.P. Lovecraft horror character. Mm-hmm. And he did an amazing design on that. He's saying, "Aw, shucks." I think that's supposed to be shucks. This is sucks. But I think it's supposed to be aw, shucks. Tony, I love you. Anyway, so one of the things I loved is that, you've got the art department, like the makeup department, you've got the costume department, the special effects department, all kind of working amazingly together. And so some of the research I discovered that a lot of the people who were on this production team also worked on Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. They worked on Superman versus Batman. So you can tell, like, they're really cohesive. If this is their first time coming together, they might not have been this solid. So what were your sort of thoughts on the visuals of this movie?
Yeah, again, with reviewing films stuff, we have to look at like the iconography and like the set design. How do we know it's a horror film? How do we know it's a post-apocalyptic film? How do we know this is a zombie flick? even just look at the kind of barren wasteland. We don't really get a time frame. How long has this zombie apocalypse been happening in Las Vegas? But when the mercenaries kind of leave the quarantine zone, we do see a destroyed Las Vegas. We see that barren wasteland that we're kind of accustomed to seeing. I thought that was visually impressive. I don't know how much of that was CGI or was it constructed, but I thought it was really good. I thought the world and the universe they created was excellent. I really loved that they utilized Las Vegas as a location and interjected all those fun elements like the Las Vegas showgears and Elvis, of course. And then the special effects, the visuals, the zombies themselves. It was all. It just again. Not to repeat myself, but it was a feast for the eyes. I really enjoyed it, really impressed. I can't speak highly enough. Everything from the set design to the costume design to the zombies design, and then like the sound design. We've barely talked about that, but I think the film was flawless. Maybe a little bit too long for some people, but I enjoyed so much about this. I find it difficult to have something to critique.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to put myself in the frame. It's all about me. It's my show. No. What about you, Ian? Like visually, whatever, aspects of the visuals. What did you think about all that?
Yeah, just touching on what you said, Heidi, about Zack Snyder kind of having the same department and team around him. That's evident in this film. And I think once you have a good team, there's good cohesion there. They work together. They're getting everything well done. The mise en scene in this film is fantastic. Everything ties in. Just reinforce what Michael said there. You're getting all the pageantry and all the punchiness of Vegas in this film. Even though we're in a barren wasteland, it's very sort of iconic of Mad Max or something like that. We don't know what's happening around the globe or around the rest of America, I suppose. But we're getting this insight to Vegas. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's lovely. The cinematography is gorgeous. The color grading is fantastic, and again, that's elusive of, or conducive, should I say, of Zack Snyder having a team around him that know and can visualize what he's trying to do. And I think that, if we get a prequel or a sequel to this film, we will probably get something very similar in terms of how it looks, because hopefully it'll keep the same band of people around them in terms of all these departments. But, that being said, it probably won't be any better or worse than this film, if you know what I mean. Whenever we get sequels and prequels and different directors take over, or where we get different costume designers, or we get different production or producers, executive producers, all that kind of stuff, we can see the film kind of takes a different direction and doesn't feel the same. So, aesthetically pleasing as this film is, it really, really is a beautifully shot and a beautifully made film in terms of all the aesthetics.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry,
And
Michael,
just-
did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
and just to follow up kind of what Ian is saying there, I mean, we could hold this film up against umpteen million other action zombie movies, and I would say this has been done just as well, if not better, than some other action zombie movies out there. I mean, there's the Resident Evil series. It gets a thumbs down for me. There's Daylight's End, which is like an Amazon exclusive kind of one. It's pretty similar to this, but it's rubbish. This isn't. This utilizes all the codes, conventions, and the fun of Las Vegas, and it's got great characters as well. There's so many. I mean, anyone could go out and make an action zombie movie, but this one has been masterfully done. This one has personality and a little va-va-voom, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I would hold this up higher than many other action zombie movies. I guess I Am Legend with Will Smith might be up there with it, kind of in a similar kind of vein, but everything else is below in terms of action, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say I loved I Am Legend, but of course it is Omega Man. If anybody hasn't seen Omega Man, you have to see it. Michael and Ian, have you seen it?
Yeah, seen Omega Man.
It's horrible B movie stuff, but it's so good. And I love the way that they did the, I don't know, the vampires in that or whatever, the infected or whatever they are. I'm a huge guys, I think if you know me, I love 70s like horror movies. So and my husband got me into all the Evil Dead movies. So I think I feel fairly confident I have seen most zombie movies that have been made, most, at least the big ones. I feel fairly confident. I'm sure you all have. Diana says that Omega Man is the best, and it's Charlton Heston. Come on. It's people. Well, that's another movie. But speaking of that, before we move on, can I ask both of you why horror movies? Like, I know you both are instructors. You work, you teach. Why horror movies though? What versus other genres? What made you sort of interested in that, Michael? What got you into it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, I grew up with kind of grandparents and aunties and uncles, and I've always kind of been exposed to things that I probably shouldn't have been seeing at a young age. And I guess I'm the kind of guy who wears my heart on my sleeve, and I'm going to be a bit soppy here, but seeing horror movies and seeing things that I shouldn't have seen sometimes made you the kind of cool kid in school. If you're kind of guy like me who's quiet and don't have many friends, all of a sudden the playground are talking about Freddy Krueger, and guess what? You've seen it and you know everything about it and you know everything about his backstory. I guess that was one of the kind of things that originally got me into horror, not to be cool, but it was just I was exposed to a world that a lot of other kids my age weren't. Something as a grown-up that I love about horror is I love that horror can play with your senses. It can make you anxious. It can make you scared. It can make you jump out of your seat. I love that. We all know a big, strong man who won't watch a horror film because it'll give him nightmares. I love that. I love also that horror isn't just the boogeyman. It's not just the wicked witches. It can be your next door neighbor. Sometimes the scariest things are the things that human beings do to each other. I think horror covers a lot of ground. I love all film, but horror is something that gives me the tingles. It gives me goosebumps. It plays with my senses, and that's something that I really love.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You should say this because last year I did a review of Midsommar, and I remember when I saw that movie. And normally I have a list of movies I have to do, but there was something about that movie that I was just compelled. I was like, it stayed with me for several days after I watched it. And and The Road is as well. Like, that movie stayed with me for so long, not in a good way, that one though. Yeah. So it's amazing how, we always think of drama as being the type of thing that will really affect us. But meanwhile, horror can have such an impact on our lives. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, a bit similar to Michael. It was kind of whenever I was younger, I was watching horror films I shouldn't have been watching. I had older cousins and stuff that would expose me to that sort of stuff. And I think it was just a case of I loved being scared. It was I never really took the action films or comedy films, or it wasn't really something that sort of grew on me. But I loved being scared. Like, one of the first horror films I ever watched was a film called Critters, about these little tiny like alien hairy ball monster things, and I remember just being blown away by that. And I remember that watching Gremlins as well when I was younger as well. That was a frightening film to be put on.
I just watched it last week with my kids for the first time. What a great movie.
It is such a Spielberg classic, but the TV companies would fire that on Christmas Day around 7 o'clock, and you'd be sitting watching Gremlins with your family. But it was like, I enjoyed being scared. And then kind of going back to this is one thing that sort of the newer generation's going to miss out on so much, is going into the video store and going and looking at all the artwork on the boxes. And that, for me, I always thought horror films always had the cooler, the really smart and cool artwork on the boxes. Sometimes I wouldn't even look at the blurb at the back of the box. It would be just, this picture's awesome, I'm going to watch this film. If it was A Nightmare on Elm Street, and the film didn't reflect how good the artwork was some of the time. But I just remember like seeing films like The Fly, with Jeff Goldblum. I remember seeing the artwork for that and was like, this is, this alone would make me want to...
That was shot in Toronto, by the way.
Awesome. And that alone
where
was.
I live. Yeah, Toronto, Canada.
Were you in the Fly?
I was not in the Fly, but I lived down the street from where it was shot. No, I had nothing to do with it. I just know it was shot in Toronto. That's all. Because I'm in Canada, so we always have to say, "Oh, that was done here." You know, we're very insecure.
It's felt like also for a year too, I suppose. But,
we have nothing. We have Guinness. That's it.
Speaking of Canada, I just want to say hi to my friend Kevin from Car Galaxy Studios. He's a fellow Ontarian, Canadian. So hi, Kevin. Sorry, go ahead, Ian.
No, that's just the gist of it. It was getting to watch films with my older cousins that my parents had no idea that I was watching. Going into the video store, sneaking over to the horror section when I was too younger and looking at all the cool artwork. And then also when I was old enough, or it wasn't not even that I was old enough, but I looked big enough to pass as an 18-year-old, and I was renting out the movies and stuff, from the video store. That's where my love of horror comes from. Like, I love being scared. I'll be honest with you, there hasn't been a film that scared me, in a long, long, long time. I remember, and here in the UK and Ireland, The Exorcist was banned. You couldn't watch it, and then I think then sort of mid-90s, late 90s, maybe early 2000s, it was re-released and we could see it for the first time. And I remember watching that, and that was frightening because there was an uncut version of the film that was released in the video store, and you see Reagan walking down the stairs backwards, and she's urinating on people, and she's just the things that she's saying to her mother. That was like that's frightening, because I don't know if Michael Knight had said that there more, so would have been deep within an inch of her lives. But she was getting away with all this stuff in the film, and that was quite frightening. But it was sort of like here in the UK as well, that there was like a lot of films that were banned. Exorcist being one. Child's Play was banned because it was blamed for a murder. For murder for a little boy.
Wow, yeah.
And then Clockwork Orange had been banned at the time because it was being blamed for a series of gang rapes around London and stuff, So like when all them films kind of resurfaced again, those were the kind of films that kind of were frightening. Clockwork Orange is a frightening film, and for me, the most horrific film next to The Exorcist is The Shining. I thought that was a really creepy, scary film.
Yeah, agreed.
So that was just a free fall or a descent into madness, that whole film, and that was a really, really interesting film. And I think a lot of horror films now kind of miss the mark. You're not going to get Kubrick or Hitchcock or Wes Craven. You're not going to get as much of that now, but they try. And for what it is, I suppose, like with a newer generation, it's just like a lot of CGI special effects, and that kind of misses the mark when it comes to jump scares and being horrific. So that's what got me into horror films.
That's excellent. I was just talking about this the other day to my husband. I was saying, I remember when I first watched Carrie, I was supposed to be in bed. It was like 9:00, and my mom, I think, must have been watching it had it on in her bedroom, and I could see the TV like from my bedroom door, like if I sort of just squatted down, and that's basically how I first watched Carrie. And of course, it's not even just the horror aspects; there's a lot of adult stuff in there as well. Mm-hmm. So I remember thinking, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. I guess I would have been maybe like 10 or 11, maybe. Mm-hmm. I'm not even sure. I'm way too young to be watching it at any rate. Okay, so speaking of practical or non-CGI, we're going to move on just for this last little segment. We're just going to talk a little bit about the zombie creatures and the makeup and the costumes. So what I'm going to do is pull up some pictures that I have here. So first off, I thought we could talk about the alphas. So here's like a picture. Let me just add this. So this is sort of like just all of this was practical. One of the things this reminded me of, and Michael, I'm going to call on you because he told me this just at the very top of the stream, that he was in Game of Thrones, which I'm like, oh my God, Michael, you were in Game of Thrones. Okay, now I'm going to have to but he's signed a non-disclosure, so he can't really tell us much. But one of the things I thought about is the makeup kind of reminded me of the Whites and the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. And like Game of Thrones, the makeup and everything was completely practical. Like even looking at regular pictures, it actually looks amazing. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I loved the look of this film. I really appreciated the real human beings portraying the zombies or the alphas. I thought the design was really good. They kind of alluded to it being like this elite life form. They reminded me of kind of like Neanderthals in some ways.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, and it also like some of the imagery, you seen like that the bath full of blood. Like I got images like of Rome and stuff. That was my reading from it, like a brutal dictator and all this kind of stuff. There was different connotations there. Like to me, that looks like Rome, kind of. Or am I making that up? I don't know, but just the color grading and it looks like a chalice and stuff. I just got
it does. I've been
images.
to the Roman baths. Actually, it looks kind of like that in London.
So like that leads itself to like this great empire or this great leader. Zeus again is like, Zeus is a god in Greek mythology. So there's all these kind of connotation as well. But yes, in terms of design, I really like the design. They talked about in that making of special. They still wanted it to be a zombie. They still wanted to be the undead, but they kind of try to take away this decaying and this reading of like like it's the dead reanimated. Here, look how muscular Zeus is. He is.
Absolutely.
He's more like an alien or something, isn't he? Or more like the Hulk or something, more than a zombie.
Actually, speaking of, you said that about the alien, and we know that there is some type of AI technology. I think my husband said that he thought they were aliens, maybe, or that Zeus might have been an alien.
Yeah, well, especially like they're coming from they don't ever disclose they're coming from like an Area 51, but I believe it is in the Nevada desert somewhere. I think I've never been, but so it lends itself to that kind of reading as well, that it is potentially an alien life form. But I loved how they look. It wasn't too over the top either, and yeah, like
what Michael's saying, you can see like that sort of Neanderthal sort of look, like the very sunken eyes, the heavy brow, almost like a de-evolving, of a creature. But this is all practical makeup. It's incredible. Actually, I'm just going to give you a few notes I have here. It said that Richard Citroni, who plays Zeus, this actor here, or I guess maybe he might be a stunt person. I don't even know if he's an actual actor. He wore 24 silicone prosthetics, and it took around 3 hours to get him into costume when they first started filming. The process then got down to under 2 hours by the end. So that's like a boatload of prosthetics. I've got actually some pictures of them. Anyway, if you guys are interested in any of this, there is an amazing behind the scenes video on Netflix. So after you watch the movie, if you haven't seen it, you can go and watch it. I think 30 Days that he saw it. It's only, I think, 30 minutes. This great behind the scenes. Or if you go on YouTube on Netflix, they have like chunk size bits of it. So here's the actor here. I think this actor probably was already quite fit. Like, I don't think they added muscle to him. I think they probably hired an actor who was, and also he's got quite a defined jaw and everything, like kind of like Dave Bautista. So I didn't look into him, but this is some close-ups of this is the prosthetics before they probably even added the makeup onto it. So pretty amazing. I love how it's kind of veiny and looks like you can see through, it's translucent almost. Michael, what do you think? Or sorry, Ian, what do you think of this?
Yeah, you're totally right. Richard Citroni, he's a stuntman.
Okay.
And he actually has a close connection to Zack Snyder because he was actually the stuntman. He was actually Ben Affleck's stuntman on Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman. So there's a connection there. And in terms of the iconography, I totally agree with Michael. It did feel like Zeus was some kind of lord or leader, and there was the Roman baths, and you seen like the chalice and the plant pots, and it was very like Greek mythology there. And he reminded me of a character from 300, and he's actually a stuntman in that film as well. He's actually one of the Spartans.
Which is also a Zack Snyder film.
Yeah,
see, this is really nice to hear. Like Zack Snyder keeps, recasting. Like I know one of the other actors that you were referring to earlier, she was also in Justice League, I gather. So it's kind of nice to think that, Zack is surrounding himself with people that he loves working with, and he just keeps bringing them back.
Yeah, 100%. Takes you back to the previous answer as well. He surrounded himself with a team
Mhm.
of special effects artists, storyboarders, the whole shebang, pre-production, production, post-production teams there, and they're moving along with all these other films instead of chopping and changing and going to different studios and working with a new team. That's what I was sort of saying about if they make a sequel or a prequel, he'll be using the same staff or whatever it is. But this guy, he's a martial artist. He, like you said before, he was very fit, very muscular anyway. But I love the fact that the bride and Zeus here, they're two stunt people. They're not.
Yeah, there they are. Yeah.
They're not like well-known actors or actresses. They haven't recruited in Selma Hayek or someone like that to be the bride. It's the unknown, and I think that's a really smart move in terms of what Zack Snyder's done here with this, because it's like, we're not trying to, who's that actress? We're not getting that. We're getting almost like she looks like, for me it was like, as soon as I seen this film, that's Wanda. She looks like Wanda from WandaVision. And when in the scene,
Even in the red, she's even wearing the red.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then when I seen Chambers as well, I was like, that's a throwback to Aliens. That's Cameron. That's the the independent, strong,
Yes.
woman that is able to take care of herself, handle herself, has the giant machine gun. She's walking around with liters or gallons of petrol on her back or gasoline.
Yeah.
Throughout the film. So for me, it was just the whole iconography of it was fantastic. It was really, really good.
I was actually I was going to say that, like, the costume of the bra, or actually before we go to that, I wanted to show some pre-visualized sort of looks that I have that I found. So yesterday when I was doing a bit of research, I found some of these like early concepts. So this guy, his name is Jared Marantz, and he's a concept artist and creature designer. So he's worked again on all these flicks with Zack Snyder. He's worked on some MCU stuff as well. So he's like fabulous. But if you guys ever want to check out this type of thing, a lot of concept artists, they put their artwork on ArtStation or DeviantArt. So this is a lot of times where I find a lot of this stuff. So here's some of the earlier concepts. And what he said was, I'll just read you a quote. He said, "I had an absolute honor of working on Army of the Dead with the incredible costume designer, Stephanie Porter. I worked with Stephanie on Batman versus Superman and Justice League. I was on pretty early and focused on Zeus and the Alphas. There are a lot of fun ideas we were playing around with. I love how they turned out in the film. Fractured FX did an incredible job on the makeups. They look incredible." So again, they had all worked together. So if you watch the behind the scenes, you'll see sort of how they dealt with the prosthetics. So a lot of this is done in prosthetics, but here's some early concepts. So they didn't completely do this type of look in the movie, but I love the idea that he might have put bone into his scalp kind of as a crown.
Yeah.
And then here it is again with the mask, and they did end up with that mask sort of as his final sort of anti-hero kind of look, almost like a superhero but an anti-hero. I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, like that.
It does look like a throwback to 300. It does look like a Spartan whenever they put the masks on, whenever they're going into war and they've got the red cloaks.
Exactly. Yes. So which makes sense again because Zack Snyder worked on that show. And then here's some other sort of things. But then we've got this is kind of getting more toward what we see. So he's got the staff, which, shows that he's like a king, and the cloak, right? So those are sort of tropes that you would see on a king, and then a bit of a crown. And then with the mask instead. So anyways, I thought that was really, really interesting. And then there's a picture. Now I showed this to the guys earlier that when I first saw this, just with the teeth and the mask, it kind of reminded me of Phantom of the Paradise. So I thought I'd show you that. If anybody hasn't seen this movie, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's people who always like have a big love for certain actors. Well, Paul Williams is in it, and I absolutely adore Paul Williams. My husband did an event with him, and he's just the cutest thing. One of the most amazing composers of all time. He wrote Rainbow Connection from the Muppets movie. So if you don't know who Paul Williams is, he stars in this movie. So this is the Phantom. So that sort of reminded me of that. I'm just taking this on another total tangent, but anyway. So those are pretty cool. So do you have any sort of comments about that, Ian or Michael, on those visuals?
Yeah, the visuals are great. Like you were saying about DeviantArt and stuff. I love I love video games and horror video games, and I always kind of like to investigate and see what they could have looked like with the concept art and stuff. And I think that the concept art that you've shown us on this is very, very impressive. I would like to have seen the bones actually. I thought that was.
I love them. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why they abandoned it. It was a really clever idea. He said he came on earlier, and then they ended up hiring this other guy named Alan, who ended up taking over sort of the costume design concepts for the movie. So, and I do notice that a lot of these guys work on video games. So that's interesting that you should say that.
Yeah, like he looked very regal. He did look like a king. You could see that from the cloak and the crown, and it wasn't too hard to decipher that this is a man of importance or stature. And what's the word I'm looking for? What's the big staff? The staff, or whatever you call it. That looked very impressive. Would have been nice to see like a live action moving head at the end of that. Would have been quite good. But it was it was good.
30 days. Making fun of me because I said that Phantom of the Paradise is one of those movies. But you know what? It was one of those movies, again, I watched when I was a kid. And I was like, I had never seen anything like that in my life. I didn't know what Phantom of the Opera was. But again, how powerful a horror movie can be. I mean, I don't even know if Phantom of the Paradise is technically a horror movie. It's kind of a bit of again, I think a bit of a tongue-in-cheek sort of style movie, but kind of funny. And I'm showing my age.
I think just talking about Zeus's model there and the character design, and as we've talked about this, because Ian and I haven't talked about this movie since we've watched it either. As we've had this conversation over the last hour, I think Zeus has become my favorite character in the Army of the Dead, and I would love to actually see like a trilogy of this character's genesis, kind of like the Planet of the Apes trilogy from a few years ago, where we've seen kind of the rise of Caesar and the rise of the apes. Army of the Dead really could have been shot from the perspective of Zeus and the Alphas and how they rose. I think he's actually, the more we've talked about him, the more I'm intrigued by this Zeus character. Never mind Batista and the mercenaries and the money. I think Zeus is the most interesting character in this whole film.
Yeah, sorry, I hadn't showed this picture as well, Michael and Ian, but this is a sculpture that one of the they did of Zeus. So just to show the textures of his skin and everything. One of the things they talked about, we were saying the Neanderthal look, but also I thought this was very clever. They were talking about like how zombies would be in a desert, like what would happen to a body that's decomposing in the desert. Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting because obviously, like in The Walking Dead, they're going to be like, they're in Georgia and, it's so hot and steamy. They're probably just going to start like falling off the bone. Whereas here in the Arizona sun, they're going to actually be dehydrated. And so as time goes on, they sort of like shrink down. So they get that very wrinkled type of thing. And they took all of that into consideration when coming up with the design. And I thought that was very cool.
It looks impressive. It really, really does. And again, it's like a throwback to what I was saying earlier on in terms of why I love horror. It's making sculptures, and it's if I made reference to the making of Nightmare on Elm Street, and there's a great scene where Robert Englund's sitting for hours and hours and hours and hours getting prosthetics put on, getting his Freddy Krueger face on, and all the like as the film progresses into the other movies. We see all these kind of developments with animatronics and sculptures and all that kind of stuff coming into play. So this is still very impressive and still a very much needed art form within film. It's easy to put on a green outfit and prance about in front of a green screen, but this stuff is still very much needed and required in film.
Yeah. So, and then here's the queen, which I guess she didn't have a name. She was just the queen.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to know about her is like, who was she? This is something I would have loved to have known, because given her costume, I guess she might have been some type of showgirl, but her outfit is kind of not really a showgirl outfit. She's got the spikes. She looks like she might have been a gladiator type, back to that sort of Roman Greek kind of look. It has that sort of thing. I mean, it's obviously she's wearing a bodysuit with a cloak and everything. And one of the things in one of the close-up photos, I noticed she's wearing fishnet stockings with little like rhinestones on it. So there's lots of like little details like that. You can see all of the stones that are on her costume with a little bit of the red in her crown. But someone was asking me on Twitter, for instance, about her crown. And it doesn't fit into Vegas for me. So I'm not really sure what the origins are. And unfortunately, the costume designer hasn't really done any interviews about it. So what are your thoughts about this outfit, or about her look in general, besides being like Wanda?
My initial reaction to your outfit and costume is that it's like prehistoric. It reminds me of the dinosaur age. Even it's something. It's kind of pterodactyl or something. It's that kind of reading I get from her look and from her headpiece. So again, sort of throw me back to that Neanderthal kind of reading. But yeah, again, interesting as we read into these characters based on their looks and who they are. The Zeus character obviously chose this person. I think that's really interesting, and I didn't think about that, Heidi, until you've pointed it out. So the layers of her clothing. Who was this woman in her previous life, and why did this this alpha, this new life form, choose her? She clearly wasn't the first victim either. We've seen him go through these generals and soldiers before the opening credits. So I just think that's an interesting layer. That's not. She's got this prestige with the crown and the shoulder blades, but then beneath that, was she a showgirl? Was she a ballerina dancer? What was she? I think that's interesting that there's layers of her previous self attached to the costume.
Yeah, like she's got these, it's very Cersei Lannister. She's got these sort of almost like pauldrons, with the spikes on it, and that are crystal, like they're glass and crystal spikes. And then on her headdress, she's also got spikes. In terms of the headdress, I thought that it looked like it might have been 3D printed. There's been a lot of that going on in Hollywood. It looks like something to me that might have, although they might have made it practically as well. But I would love to know what the origins of her are. Like that would be very cool to know. For me personally. There's the costume design, by the way, everyone. And this is done by Alan Villanueva, who is the costume concept artist on the movie. Just gorgeous, though, eh? Now, and it's interesting that they did kind of go with more of a redhead, as opposed to in this picture here, it's sort of like an ash color, but they did go with more that WandaVision redhead kind of color. Which now I'm convinced this is a WandaVision wig. I don't know. I'm dying to know. I'm going to start that rumor and see if it takes off.
Hashtag Wanda's wig.
Yeah. So 30 Days is saying them hips, though. Yeah. She's got like, it's kind of a bit like an armor. It's again, like a bit of a Cersei Lannister. I call those panniers, like kind of like side hip armor. I'm sorry. Where did I have that picture of her? But again,
it gives you the Mad Max vibes, the kind of the barren wasteland, and we're kind of accustomed to see this kind of dress in these post-apocalyptic movies. So maybe it was just a choice based on what audiences are expecting to see as well. But we look for a deeper meaning in things. I know that's a very obvious reason, but we look for these deeper meanings.
Well, I can definitely appreciate something as a visual without having to say, why is this like this? But it was interesting like last year, I interviewed this costume designer, Christopher Hargadon, who does the Umbrella Academy and also does Hannibal. So even though I can't watch shows about cannibals, he does Hannibal, and excellent work on that. I told him, though, I couldn't watch it. Like I said, sorry, Christopher. But one of the things he told me is he always says, okay, when I'm doing a design, I always say, okay, what's available? Like what is around there? Like, so you can't just sort of like pluck something in there or plop something in there, I should say, that wouldn't already exist. So the idea when she was turned, she must have been wearing this outfit. So I would just be on a personal level, love to know who she is. But then also to what you said, Michael, about why did he choose her? And I did notice, like, there's obviously in the behind the scenes, they were talking about how they used animal sounds for that comes out of their mouths. So there is definitely like an animal primal instinct thing, and they sniff each other. So I sort of thought about it as they are like wolves, for instance, who find each other through scent or select each other that way as a mate. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ian and Michael?
Yeah, it's going back to the going back to the outfits. There's have these guys evolve to the point where they can, create their own scepters and crowns and armor and stuff like that. Like you said, it'd be good to see how that kind of originated and why she was selected to be the bride or the queen or whatever it is. I totally agree. I just think this character has a lot more mystique, and it would be good to sort of delve deeper into her background and her story, because obviously, I don't know if a Las Vegas showgirl would wear anything like that, but it does look like it's armor. Have these guys started a culture where the crown means something? It looks like the shoulders there have have element of glass pieces or shards in there, or could have easily been teeth or bone or something. Is this some kind of almost like if you earn your stripes, if you're a soldier or something, it's just like one of your, like if you're, I don't, you know what I mean? If you get your medals or something, are you awarded this other piece of armor or this, this element to your outfit or whatever? So that would be interesting to find out. But I don't think the storyline or the narrative, it definitely doesn't explain why Jesus or the bride are specifically dressed like this. So, like, totally agree, Heidi and Michael. I would like to see some sort of background or origin to how those outfits came about, or why they're dressed like that. And like I said before, I'd love to see that scepter or that staff have a head, like a zombie head moving about, and
Yeah.
It would have been nice, no way in The Walking Dead, whenever the Whispers put the characters on the pikes and their heads are still animated because they're zombies. I think that would have been a cool way effect, but maybe it's like one of those things. It's already been done, so they're not going to do it. But
yeah, like it looks like he's fashioned this staff, like he's found a piece of rebar and stuck a head on it, and kind of, he's made his own staff. Like, obviously there is some intelligence there, right? So it's possible what you say.
Yeah,
Car Galaxy says, fun fact, it was none of it was actually shot in Vegas. Yes. In the behind the scenes, they show actually how they mapped Vegas, which was, I love when they do that in a movie. They either are working with an existing technology or they find a new technology to actually do something that they want to do. And they knew they wouldn't be able to do Vegas in the way that they did it here without doing that. So that's a very cool fact. Sorry, go ahead, Michael. I interrupted you.
No, I wasn't going to say anything, but just again, what you guys are saying about their intelligence level and stuff, I thought I did have it must be very frustrating to be a zombie, because they're obviously very hungry. And
we should start a zombie support group.
Yeah. And imagine being very, very hungry and all you can eat is live human beings, and as soon as you take a bite out of them, they turn into one of you, so you actually never get anything to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know. I always feel bad for the zombies in The Walking Dead who are stuck in the mud or caught in a bush or a tree. Yeah. They can't like they can't do anything. They can't even like pick up a rodent or something,
Humanity for zombies. Humanity for zombies.
One of the things before we move on, one of the weak points I had in the movie, and I'm going to ask both of you about this, is because I know we're going to wrap it up very shortly. Do you recommend it or don't recommend it? One of the things I wasn't really crazy about was that sort of third act love reveal, like to the Dave Bautista character and the other female who I can't remember her character name. That didn't work for me at all. What did you guys think of that love scene?
Yeah, it's kind of back to when we were talking about the emotional investment with characters. This is something that got thrown in right before her demise. Mm-hmm. Had this been a seed that was planted in the first few minutes, perhaps over the hour and a half, 2 hours point at this point in the movie, we might have developed a bit of a connection. We might have liked seeing them together. We might have thought if they can just pull off this heist, they will have a future together. Too little, too late. They kind of threw in this little love triangle thing too late, and when she was, it had no emotional effect with me when she had her neck broken by an alpha. I didn't care. I didn't sense a
Although I
connection
love the way it
between them.
looked. It was kind of like that twisty thing. Like it reminded me of one of those
The
like
Exorcist.
popsicles.
Yeah.
The Exorcist. I was like, with the neck even look like that? I wasn't even sure.
It was a cool death. It was one of the cooler deaths in the movie, but in terms of emotional investment, I didn't have any for her.
What about you, Ian? What did you think of that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was too little, too late. I quite like the twisting of the neck, especially when the collarbone kind of burst through the skin, and then we kind of got that. We thought the blood was coming for us, but no, totally agree. That could have been left out. I think the more of I think the most of
they had a good friendship. I didn't feel that
Yeah.
like they had it. I felt they had enough of a connection. They had enough of a history. But all I kept thinking is he just murdered he had to kill his wife.
Yeah.
And he probably has PTSD from that. Like I can't imagine him even thinking about having a romance at this point. That's what I personally thought it anyway.
That's it, because it almost feels it's I think there was a comment come up there a minute ago. It feels forced. They kind of felt it was almost as if, oh, we need to get a love interest in here because we've spent so much time, fighting zombies, and Batista and his daughter trying to rekindle their relationship, and all of a sudden now we need love thrown into this, and it didn't need it. I think them staying as friends would have been perfect. But the third act, it didn't need that. It really didn't. Like Michael's right. They could have thrown that into the mix at the start. We kind of get that through the montage. Whenever they're trying to save the mother and daughter, and then the daughter stays with the mother, and they both get bit, and the cargo container crushes them, and we worked it out then. We didn't need to revisit that again. Maybe 2 hours into the film. So for me, yeah, totally agree that that element. You can take it or leave it. It didn't impact the film. It was just one of those things where they could have maybe used that 10 minutes to throw in more zombies and fighting, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. I actually I've kept you guys longer than I planned on. I'm so sorry.
100%. We're having a good time.
Having
Heidi.
such a
We're
lively conversation here. Actually, and for me, it's nearly 4:00, but I have lots of daylight hours available to go outside. But for you guys, it's nighttime. So it's going to be like 9:00 for you soon. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up with, do you recommend or do you not recommend this? This is something that the Polterguys do on their channel. So Michael, start with you. Do you recommend it?
Yeah, well, we always look for a killer ending, something original, something new, something we haven't seen before. Have we seen zombie action movies before? Yes, but have we seen a zombie action movie with so much charm, so many good characters, a captivating story? Maybe not. This is a must-watch. If you subscribe to Netflix, you have it. It's sitting there. It's available for you right here on your mobile phone. I suggest you go and check this out. You're not going to regret it. It's fun. It's one you could watch with a friend. It's one you could watch with your family and have a good time. Zombie movies, they're coming back. I didn't think they would with everything that we've gone through in the world. I didn't think viral infections or something that we wanted to put out there on social media and on TV, but it's here and it's enjoyable. And people have always enjoyed zombie movies. There's always been a mystique about zombies, back from the Haiti folklore right through to today. People enjoy zombies. They're popular and they're fun. And this is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I really recommend it. Sit back, relax. You'll not regret it.
Yeah, and have a big thing of popcorn. Have some snacks at your hand, because it's a little, if you don't want to, you can stop it and watch it like you did, Michael, or you can, watch it right through like I did. What about you, Ian? What are your final thoughts? Do you recommend this movie? What did you think of the ending and so on?
Yeah, I recommend the film. It's not a horror film, so if you're looking for a gruesome, gory zombie film, this definitely isn't it. But in terms of what you said, Heidi, with something with snacks, popcorn, and a big giant bucket of Coke, I mean,
A bucket of
Coca-Cola,
Coke
I
and a
mean.
bottle of popcorn.
I mean, Coca-Cola obviously is what I'm talking about. This is definitely, kick off the shoes, relax, action, throw back the 80s action films with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rambo, you name it. But there's zombies thrown into the mix. If you're looking for something that's a bit deeper in terms of storytelling, this film doesn't have it, but it is a fun film. It is a film not to be taken seriously. It is action-packed. Like I said at the top of the show, I could have went another 2 hours based on the action alone, but it's not a film that's going to be used in teachings. It's not one of the Romero films like Night of the Living Dead, and it's not up there with the Evil Dead, or it's not up there with any of the classic zombie films. You know what I mean? So it's it's easy to come on here and criticize a film and be like, oh, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. That's perfectly fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But the thing is, this film isn't to be taken seriously. This isn't the film that's going to be put up for the Academy aren't going to give this awards. This is something that was entertaining. It was on Netflix. If you've got a subscription, it's right there, like Michael said, at your fingertips, and it is definitely worth a watch. And it's like you could watch an hour of it, turn it off, go away and do something, come back, finish it off, or finish it off next week. You could split this film into 2 parts, but it's definitely worth a watch. Should you throw all your stuff down the floor now and go and watch it? Probably not. But as long as it's on Netflix, go and check it out before it's gone. But that's what I would recommend. It's not horror. It's definitely not. If you're looking for a horror film, this isn't a horror film, but it's a good action-packed zombie heist film, which you rightly described it as, Heidi.
Oh, thanks so much, Ian. Now, I just want to mention something that Diana said here. I thought this was interesting. She said, U.S. famous statues are popular in science fiction. Omega Man equals Statue of Liberty. Planet of the Apes equals Abraham Lincoln. It was fun to see the Liberty statue in this film. Yeah, and there is, because that Statue of Liberty, there's a Statue of Liberty in Vegas, like a smaller version, I think. Mm-hmm. Actually, they joke about this in... what's the name of the movie where the guy tries to steal the moon? It's a cartoon, and he goes, "We stole the
Despicable Me.
We stole the Statue of Liberty, I think, but it was from Vegas, or we stole
I think it was Despicable Me, Heidi, wasn't it?
Despicable Me, yes, thank you. They steal the Eiffel Tower, but the Vegas Eiffel Tower, so it's like smaller. So this is sort of, I think this is what this is. There's like they do a lot of reproductions of famous buildings in Vegas. They're usually a bit smaller. So totally think that's actually a really fun thing that you mentioned, Diana. I love that. But I want to thank everyone who came. 30 Days, thank you. He's my moderator. I really appreciate you coming. And also, I'm glad. It's funny, whenever he's here, I'm always talking about something he hasn't seen. So he's been actually very involved in the chat, because he actually saw this and he told me he was excited and he watched the behind the scenes. So everyone else who came, Tanya, and if you're still in the chat, thank you so much for doing the this with us. Oh, hi. Have a few latecomers. Sunblower Beth, hello, nice to see you. Jake, lovely to see you as well. Sorry, guys, we're just wrapping things up. But before we do, I have to ask Michael and Ian to tell us a little bit about where we can find you and where people can check your channel out and so on.
Okay, so if you want to check us out on YouTube, just type in the Polterguys in the search and you will find a lovely picture of 2 ghosts in white sheets, and that is us. Probably better.
What was the reason behind that? Did you not want people knowing what you look like?
No, it was. We were like big Scooby-Doo fans, and we always loved the ghosts in the white sheets. And
so fun.
I'm a massive fan of Halloween, the original one. That's my favorite all-time horror film. And there's a great scene where Michael Myers enters a room with a sheet, and he looks like a big ghost. And I thought I would pay homage to that in our profile picture. So if you're wondering, that's not actually us under the sheets. That's a nice graphic that we found. So yeah, you'll find this on YouTube if you type in the Polterguys. And if you want to find us,
kind of like Connor's picture. It's a little bit like that, but it's a
bit like that. Yeah, it's exactly like that. And if you want to find us on Instagram, just type in the Polterguys 666. And honestly, we're not no satanic devil worshippers or anything. It's just a cool, cool number to add.
Irish Catholic boys.
So that's where you'll find us. You'll find us lurking about YouTube and Instagram.
And I have all the links down below. I went and scoured the internet and found them. And you're on Facebook now too, which I put a link as well. So if you want to join their Facebook group,
Yeah.
which is new. Hey, Hindsight, we have all these latecomers. Oh, guys, sorry that you're just joining us. We were just wrapping up. So anyway, I want to thank both of you. We'll have to do this again. Will you do this again and come back? I was putting people on the spot.
100%.
What are you going to say? No? I put you on the
contracted?
spot right now?
Heidi, thanks for having us. It's an absolute pleasure. It's always great to come up here and chat with new people. It's something that we've lost over the last year or so, but it's fantastic to be able to meet people on this little community called YouTube. So thank you for the invite. It's been great to meet you. It's been great to come up here and chat horror movies and zombies, and it's been a really enjoyable experience. So thank you very much for having us.
Oh,
Thank
it
you,
was
Heidi.
my pleasure. And also it's been nice for me because I've been, I had to take a bit of a YouTube break. I think I told you both for my work. So this is actually, I've been off YouTube for a month. So this is sort of my like coming back to YouTube. It's really, and I want to mention, you guys, a lot of you guys know my husband, Jack just brought me a coffee. Like how
Aw.
sweet is that? Right? That's super lovely. In my
That's
costume
awesome.
co mug of all things. So I could have a little plug there. So anyways, everyone, thank you so much for spending the last few hours with us. Thank you to Ian and Michael from the Polterguys for being here as my guests, and also to Tanya, who was here earlier. She had to pop off. So it's been a really great stream. This is so much fun. If you have beautiful weather today, I hope you can get out if you're in North America. If you're in the other side of the world, I don't know, you might be like ready to have dinner or watch a horror movie perhaps tonight. So anyway, thanks again, everyone. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care now. Bye.